This video, we're going to be looking at the Marvel Legends, Marvel's Warlock wave. This is Polaris. Polaris, whose real name is Lorna Dane, first appeared in X-Men number 49 back in October 1968. Let's go ahead and take Polaris's measurements. She stands at 6.5 inches tall. Now, 6.5 inches tall, I gauged that also to be the tip of her ponytail there. But with the ponytail, she stands at 6.5 inches. Also, just as a side note, the 1 foot of Warlock here stands at 5 inches tall. I don't know why, just to throw that in there, just in case somebody was wondering how tall is Warlock's leg. There you go. We're going to go ahead and reach off camera to grab the torso that we got with Sunfire, and making sure, of course, the feet are going the right way. I suspect it would be this way. We're going to go ahead and plug the foot in, there we go, to the socket or thigh area of Warlock. I can at least get him to stand. That's impressive enough. Again, really liking... I mean, it's such a cheap way to produce a great effect, is by taking something like a black plastic and just basically running a wash over top of it. It's successful every single time you do it, but you know it's such a cheap way that they got this neat looking effect. No complaints whatsoever, though, because I think the end result looks awesome, but you can clearly tell it's just black plastic they've coated over with, you know, they've just basically gone in and done all the panel lining for Warlock's leg as well as torso. Anyways, let's move that to the side. Let's have a look at Polaris here, who does come with the same constructs, the same spiraled plastic pieces that came included with so many other figures. So many, I couldn't even name them all. But she does come included with these once again. Seriously, Hasbro, you guys, you could literally break the mold and come up with a different means to display these figures with. I mean, it looks good on her, and I especially like the hand sculpt that we used, or that they have used for her. But it really comes to its time that you really have to start thinking to yourself, let's start doing something a little bit different. Because I'm sure collectors probably are a little exhausted to the fact that we get the same... Well, I think there are slight variations, but they're roughly about the same sort of energy construct, or the energy accessory. We've gotten this countless times before. Let's change it up. Can we just change it up a little bit, please? As a side note, though, they're heavily warped. You could say intentionally, because it conveys the idea more of a funnel, like a cone that's being projected outward. I chalk it up more so to the fact that they look like they've just been warped. They do feel like they're a little bit more of a solid plastic than in previous releases, but yeah, the actual clip that goes on the wrists, they don't really fit all that well. They're a translucent kind of green, yellowish green color. I just feel like it's time to move on. We need to find new energy spiral relationships. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so let's have a look at the figure, which I love. I adore you, Polaris from the Warlock wave. She's not one of my favorite outfits for the character, but secretly, just between you and me, I used to actually have a crush on comic character who does not really exist, Polaris. But my introductory lesson to Polaris actually came more so with X Factor, where she was a regular occurring character in X Factor, more so than in the other X titles. So this costume, I have to admit, is pretty cool. But longing are the days. One day, hopefully we might get ourselves an X Factor wave. Oh my goodness gracious. And we can get ourselves a Havoc, strong guy, you know, again, a Polaris here, in a different outfit. Not to say that there's anything wrong with this outfit, because this outfit actually is gorgeous. But before we do that, let's have a look at her face sculpt, which I just think the world of this head sculpt. It looks really good. I like the metallic green in her lipstick there, and she's got the metallic eyebrows. Well, they're not quite, well, they're slightly metallic, not as metallic as the lips, but I like the lips, how they have a sheen to them. The light reflects off of them really nicely. She kind of looks like the girl from The Force Awakens, the one that played Rey, slightly. The hair sculpt is done really nice. I like how it's got different degrees of sculpting. Like, it's not just a single, the hairs aren't all going the same way. They all have their own distinct flow to them. The hair perfectly finishes off in this nice ponytail, which doesn't have any sort of poseability to it. They've added just a little bit of black, but just enough that it's not too much. Just right. Baby bear right. The skin tone is a nice warm shade. It doesn't look too cool. It doesn't look too lifeless. She does also have a cape, which, let's bring the camera back a little bit. There we go. She does have a cape that is technically removable. It only plugs in really by that one plug into the back socket here. There's a sculpting of her body, which is, this female body has been used before for Marvel Legends females, so it's not like she's a unique, she's not the first person at this party wearing this same outfit, this same body. Just peg that into place. The hair actually does a pretty good job of keeping the cape in place. I would have actually thought that the cape would have been a little bit more loose and be more prone to falling off. But it seems to actually do a pretty good job of staying on, and I wonder if some of that can be chalked up to the fact that the hair sits very closely against the cape, that it really prevents the cape from falling off. The coloring on the cape is really good. It matches that of, well, it kind of matches that of the top part of her chest. The lower part has more of a darker green, then she gets back to a lighter shade of green, and then back to the dark green down below. Paint's really clean on this figure. I don't see any real issues with it whatsoever. I like the new sculpting of the gauntlets that have been added to the forearm area, which basically are just sitting loose. There's not really, whoops, I was going to say it's not really loose, and in fact, as you probably already saw too, they fall off very, not easily, but basically when they fall off, the hand falls off as well. Just reaching on the floor and grabbing the hand here. The hands have been reused. I think they were actually reused from Jean Grey. Jean Grey had these. I mean, they've used these hands countless times before. I think Scarlet Witch also had these hands too. But a glorious, glorious looking paint. The head sculpt, I've got zero problems with the head sculpt. In fact, I might even just say I have absolutely no problems with this figure whatsoever. Other than the fact, maybe perhaps I would like to have seen her dressed in the X Factor outfit, but I know that really wouldn't fit the bill with like this wave. You know, I think if you're going to give her like an X Factor Polaris outfit, you would kind of need to put her with other X Factor teammates for it to actually jive. It would just make a little bit more sense. Poseability on this one, let's have a look at it. Her head is on a ball joint, as well as that hinge up and down. Arms move outward. Again, there goes that gauntlet again. It seems every single time I move the arm, the gauntlets slide off and invert, and with that, the hands pop off too. There's a hinge in the forearm. The forearms rotate as well. Her hands rotate, despite the fact that she's got that little plate that covers over her hand area. Her hands actually still manage to rotate perfectly fine. Just not... I mean, I guess I could always, if this was really a problematic issue, it's not really, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I guess I could always glue the gauntlet to the forearm, so it's not actually going to, it wouldn't hinder any sort of movement. I could still move her hand perfectly fine, but this just, I find, sits a little too loose for my liking. Maybe that would be the only thing I would say is the negative towards this figure, but that's small. She has a ball joint in the upper torso, nothing in the waist. Forward and back motion on the legs. A split on about 3/4 of the cut of the thigh. Double hinge on the knee. She has the hinge back and forth on the foot. And she does have an ankle pivot, although this foot here is really stiff. So I'm treading lightly. I don't want that. I don't want to add too much stress to that. You know what would happen. Yeah, a good looking figure all in all. I'm really happy with how Polaris turned out. Again, I don't really have any nitpicks I can make about the figure, other than maybe like the gauntlets slide off. But I mean, that's such small little detail nitpicks. These, I kind of wish that they could have done something different, because we see these so often. There are, I think, like about two different variations of these, but they get so used so frequently, so often. I wish that they would change it up and do something a little bit different with these. Other than that, though, a great looking figure. Might so far say it's my favorite figure from this wave. That's not technically fair, because we only really have looked at her, and we've also looked at Sunfire. Those are the only two we've really looked at. There's still obviously a lot more figures to go through, because we still have to finish building. Look at me bringing all this stuff into the camera. I also got to finish building Warlock, so his review will be coming up very soon, so hopefully stay tuned for that. If you guys like this video, certainly hit it with a like. As I always say, you know, if you guys haven't also had a chance to subscribe to this channel, you know, the party's always willing to accept new members. Come on in. Join this. We're not going to think bad of you because you're a new coming individual to the party. Party's always open for new people. Hit that little subscribe button down below. You won't miss a beat when it comes to future videos. And of course, as you could probably guess it, stay tuned, because we're going to be having a look at the rest of the figures from this wave. And of course, we're going to be finishing Warlock. So there's lots and lots of videos, and lots of videos on top of that, and lots of videos on top of that. So it's always new content hitting this channel. Sometimes too much, as I've been told, but what can I say? I like reviewing for you guys. It's the cross that I bear. It's the burden that I carry with me. That is all. That is all. That is all. As always, guys, thanks for watching, as you always do. I'll see you next time.